I'm back. But you knew it was me, didn't you? Only Tony could ever wear one of these. Oh, don't worry, it's all good. What we got today? Well, you know, I sat thinking for a while, because I do that sometimes, about one of my tubes, or valves as you say in England, a bit old-fashioned valves. Tube sounds much better. You know, when you go and buy these are power tubes. When you go and buy them, they've got all these, let's get it right, got all these measurements across the top. I've just written new on them so I know what they are. I've got buckets over there which we're going to look at. But you go and buy them, and these are matched. That's what it says here. Got all these nice little pretty numbers across the bottom. They don't mean much to most people, including me. So I thought to myself, why should I bother with matched ones? Who cares? Well, your amp cares. If you've got a tube amp, you really want matched ones, they say. But is that the reality? Do I need matched tubes, or can I bang any old crap in there? Maybe. Oh, that's the pie. So, I got on to the missus, didn't I? As you do. Hey you, what are you buying me for Christmas? Because I've got everything. There's nothing I want. Well, there is. Oh, one of them. It's one of them orange valve tester things. Or tube tester in American English. I wanted a green one, but they only have orange. So I ended up with an orange one. It weighs a ton. There it is. Now you've seen all these reviews on the internet of this thing. Well, I've seen them too, and they're all pretty bloody boring. Nobody talks about, actually, the tubes. And I thought I'd do a review that'd show you a little bit more than pressing a few buttons and this one's good and that one's bad. Goodbye. I'm like that. Now, if you don't want to spend half an hour with me, push off. But if you actually want to learn something and see what you're paying for, it could be good. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break this seal on the back, because I'm like, I don't really care. And we're going to screw the back off, although they don't want you to get in there very clearly. And we're going to have a look what's inside regarding quality of the thing. Feels good, but that doesn't mean much. So let me go and take the back off, because we're going to review all these tube things and the rest. Once we've had a quick look, hold on, here we go. Inside the orange tube tester. Like I said, I wanted a green one. It's green! Well, what you've got is you've got two PCBs. There's one below this one, and this one has most of the components on it. In fact, the other PCB underneath is really where all the switches go for the front side, and the you know, the sockets for the tubes or valves. One thing you'll notice about on the back here is it has this little spring that actually touches the bottom plate and makes a very nice grounding. In fact, they ground away the orange on the bottom plate to make a very nice grounding surrounding the whole area. The other thing is you can see that it's a pretty high quality board. It's all flow soldered, surface mount technology. What you'd expect, I guess, for mass produced and relatively low cost. But one thing I did notice is that if you look at this chip here, this is the key chip, so to speak, or one of them, and you can see if you look nice and close at that one, that it's actually had its name ground off with some sandpaper. I love that sort of thing. Same with this one and this one. Well, the fact is you can go and analyse the circuit and determine what that is. And same with these, in fact. Now, if any of these have been programmed to do certain things, of course the program's copyright, but the chips aren't. So as to making one yourself, well, probably not worth the effort. That's what I'd say. There we go. So overall, pretty nice inside. Shame that they actually ground off the names of the chips, because later on when you get some problem and it's out of warranty. It's going to be fun. It was actually made by, let's see if I can get nearer, these boys here, if you can read that, something International Limited. So it was an English company that probably had it made in China, by the look of that. Maybe, can't guarantee it. Doesn't actually tell me much inside. Let's put the back on and whiz round the front. And here's a quick shot round the front. What you've got is a socket for power tubes, 606s, EL34s and so on, EL84s, and preamp tubes such as 12AX7 and so on and so forth. You'll notice down here that these are all the tubes that it's capable of testing. This is the matching value. You'll see how it works later. You've got good worn or naft. You've got these little buttons for selection. That's about it round the top. Hardly anything else to look at. A little bit boring really. I'm just going to go whiz round the back and show you that. It's amazing how these companies work really sometimes. They all talk about safety and all the rest of it, as you can see very clearly on there. But one of the things that often I see on equipment that I go and look at, and it's not limited just to bottom end stuff either, it can be real top end stuff. You look at that there. It's only a European thing, by the way, boys, so if you're not from Europe, don't worry too much. This is like a don't throw it in your bin mode. But this CE here, what you find on CE these days isn't just a CE like that. That's usually put on there by people who are not quite au fait with CE for some reason. Then you should really check if it's actually CE approved, because it may or may not be. It may be, maybe they just labelled it wrong, but what you normally have is CE and then a number or some derivative, some number. And the number is applied to this piece of equipment. So it's not just a CE, it's a CE for this piece of equipment. And that's what's changed some of the equipment that I've seen these days to do with CE approvals. But there you go, it's just a thought. Let's talk about safety, but let's not give a monkeys about the standards. Lastly, at the back here, you can see there's a DC 19 volts. It does come with its power supply. It's one of those chunky ones, a bit like on a laptop type of thing. It's 19 volts, plugs in there. What more can you say? Let's zoom out. Just before I do go, I just thought I'd show you this. This is one of those little screws to hold the back on. And they like those Torx type of things. You've seen them. Little hexadecimal type of thing. However, you can do it with one of these. So why did they bother? I don't know either. By the way, like I said, this is one of them units that I actually bought. So if it's no good, I'll say so. If it's great, I'll say so. You know, I usually say that anyway. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. I think I did earlier, but who cares? Got to talk about something, right? Yeah, I just noticed on the box as well. It says here, designed and engineered in England. It doesn't say it's made in England, by the way. It says it's engineered in England. Lead-free, ROSH compliant, 2002 95 EC, whether it's current's another thing. It's got the no dustbin and a CE with no number at the end. So I suspect that this one is designed in England. It's made in a good old China. It doesn't say actually where it's made, so whether it is Chinese or not, your guess is as good as mine, which technically makes it illegal. You have to display where they made. This one doesn't. Okay, let's move on and plug this thing in. I think what we'll do first is I've got these tube amp doctor tubes, which are bought, matched, says here, selected premium quality. Well, they always seem to work well in my amps, and I just thought plugging them in, we'd have a look at, you know, what we get. Now, I'm a bit like you. Testing tubes is a bit double Dutch or French or German. It isn't English, that's for sure. And I just wondered what it tested. So I delved into the piece of paper that it comes with, Manual's still over there. And it tells you what it does. So I'm going to read them to you because I didn't know. It says here, I'll read them. In approximately 2 minutes, the VT1000 performs an extensive series of tests, including heater filament test, short circuit, heater filament test, open circuit, heater filament test, tolerance check, that sounds good, heater cathode insulation, leakage, heater cathode insulation, short circuit, tests for heater current abnormalities, like the missus, he's got one on, amplification factor, voltage gain, power gain, screen grid test. What else we got? Mutual conductance test. Sounds good. Dual test for double triodes. Emission. Inter-electrode leakage. Oh, that sounds awesome. Flashover. Arc detection. High voltage breakdown. Gas ionization. Incorporates patent pending technology. That's probably why they filed the name off the chip. Yeah. Patent pending, yeah. And it doesn't really tell you much else. I mean, it's got the usual blurb in the back here. How it works. Well, that's all well and good, but how was it going to test these tube amp doctor? Oh, what's going on the floor? How's it going to test these tube amp doctor ones that I know happen to be pretty good? And then we'll have a look at some other tubes that I've got over there that also claim to be good, but worthy $20 or $30 dearer than they should have been, and they weren't tested at all, or matched, should I say. Maybe not even tested, who knows? That should be very good. Well, let's move on to these first. Let's just quickly whiz through these, and I'll be time slashing as we go. Time slashing, that sounds awesome. Hold on. Whoa. By the way, power supply's got one of these type of things on. Okay, well, this is the first tube. Let's put it back in. Turn off. Turn on. On the right one. Go. As boringly simple as that. Let's see what it comes up with. It came up with 11 last time. Let's see if it does the same now. Well, we're nearing the end of the test of that. This was the first tube that we're doing a retest on. And it measured 11 before. So let's see what it does now. It'd be just interesting whether that's the same or whether it changes. If it changes, wow. I'll fancy that. This time it's telling me it's 8. On the second run, this tube also came out 8. This was the second tube. Previously 10. This time the third tube came out at 7. So we had 8, 8, 7. Let's check the last one. And as you can see on this one, after it's tested, the fourth tube, this was also an 8. So it does seem really that when you're going to test your tubes, what I do is test them once and then test them again, because what we've got is near as damn it match set there, 8, 8, 7, 8. So they're very, very near. And I suspect if I tested the third one again, it might come out at 8. So, all interesting stuff. Now I have got a couple of really big fat tubes, and we're not talking little here, are we? KT66s. These are 1997, old stock things. Were bought as a matched pair. They have both the same numbers, give or take on them. And I'll run them through. I won't bore you too much, we'll just get to the end and you'll see what the results are. All looks good. So let's plug this in. KT66. Put that in your tube and smoke it. KT66 is there. Right there. Let's do it. And here we are nearing the end. The first run was came out at 15 on the scale. It's the second run, it still comes out at 15. Fancy that. Let me check the other one. Now I do want to show you also some 12AX7As, this type of thing. You'll see it there. Okay, and we wang that into the end here. Let's turn it off first. Push her in. Whether this is good tube's another story. Turn it on. 12AX7A. There. Okay. Say do it. Be interesting to see what we get as a result. As you can see, that one came out 10 and good. Let's check some more. Okay, this last tube's a good example. It's a Pinnacle, and it says it's an ECC83, so we're on that. So let's just do a test and see what we get on that. Just to show you what a bad tube's like. Now this tube, I do know, gives a really weird distortion in your amplifier. In some ways it's a good tone, but it's actually a faulty tube, or it appears to be. Yeah, that's what you get. You get a fail, and that's all it tells you. It just says fail. It does work in the amp, funny enough, but not as we know it. I'm back. What a bit of a run through. Well, it makes you wonder a bit about these tubes, but in reality what I found was that once you'd run a set of tubes through this, it had actually become quite warm, and when it became warm it became more stable, and I started getting much better results. For example, on that first test you saw a massive variance really, and then subsequent, when I did the test again, they were all pretty near actually within one of their measurements, which I thought was quite good. I then went on to test KT66's match pair retro, it says here, EL34 wing Cs, these are 6L6s, I've got a whole box full over there, and so on and so forth, even down to the little preamp tubes. Well, what did I like about this, and what didn't I like about it? Well, what I liked about it was it gave me some sort of idea of a position of a tube on a scale. Fair enough. So if you've got 4 tubes, for example, and they all come out at number 9, for example, well, they're all number 9. And therein lies the problem. Because the fact is, this scale from 1 to 15 is actually quite arbitrary. Other than the fact it does say for preamp tubes, the higher it is, the more distortion it will have. I think that's what they went down. But they didn't actually say that for power tubes. Maybe that's the case, maybe it isn't. The problem is that when you look at a set of tubes like this, and you see all these measurements that clearly the tube amp doctor had been through, they have virtually no correlation with the numbers you've got down here. It's actually meaningless. So to say these are matched from tube amp doctor with all these tests and numbers indeed, and to say they matched here, well, they do come out on a number 9 or a number 10 or whatever it may be, but it's as meaningless, to be honest, as meaningless as these numbers on here. Great if you're an electronics engineer or you've been in valves or tubes all your life. I haven't, and neither have you. So what relevance does this product have? That's what you've got to think about. Now, to be fair to it, it does actually tell you whether they're failed tubes, whether they're worn tubes, or whether they're good tubes. And you know, everything that's in a number 9 on this is probably within a good close area of the next number 9, if you follow me. But to call it a number 9 grade doesn't really equate to much, and it doesn't equate to much either in the manual. So I was a little bit perturbed about that. If this thing had got a few little windows on here just saying, oh, this is this measurement, that's that measurement, that's that one, that's this one, which I'm sure they could do, it might change the price a little, but to be fair to the product, it does test and it does work, but not as much as I'd like it to. Rating out to 10, I'd rate this at about a 7, actually. Oh, hey Tony, why a 7? Well, because of all the things I've talked about so far, plus the fact the list price on this thing is £349. That's $500 in America. Now, they might sell it cheaper over there, they might sell it more expensive. This one's £349 list in the UK. I got this one for about 300, which tends to be the street price, but not always. So it's almost a bit like that the either the manufacturer or the distributor wants to say, keep it at 349, boys. I never like that. That's not free market, is it? It's not an open market. If it's not an open market, well, Hope they don't sell any. The other thing I didn't like was the power supply cable. You know, it's one of those 3-prong things that I showed you earlier. And the 3-prong things don't work too well for me. They're a bit like a HP one, HP type of mains cable. Yeah, lose that somewhere and you'll be messing around trying to find one for days. Well, maybe not, but you get the point. It's not a kettle lead, so it's not 10 a penny, which isn't very good. But there was one thing I liked about the power supply, and that is it's 100 to 240 volt power supply. So if you can find one of these cheaper anywhere in the world, I'd go and buy it, because it's going to work in your country. You plug it in, it will just work. Yeah, you just love that. But even with the power supply, it's still a 7 out of 10, so there. Okay, if you want to see any more reviews, or even indeed a written review of this one, go to www.TonyMckenzie.com or www.youtube.com/TonyMckenzie.com, no dot, and you'll find my channel there. This is going to be on there, as well as a load of other stuff that I've been working on. See, I'm not sitting around doing nothing. Who said I was? Come back here. So that's it for now. There's no music on this one. It was just a review of this. It's been quite long, but what do you expect? You don't want me to do half a job like the rest, do you? Would I buy another? Yeah. See you soon.